Hey everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today I have Safir Ali with me. He's one of my mastermind group friends, and he's the CEO of Hamper. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Hamper.
Sweet. Yeah, man, I'm excited to finally be on the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast.
Yeah.
I've been an avid listener, and
we've talked about it a lot. Haven't had a chance to sit down and actually record your story.
Yeah, a long time coming, but my name is Safir. I'm co-founder and CEO of Hamper. Buddy of Chris's. We started the mastermind group here in Houston together, and we've kind of known each other for a little while, and so like I said, I'm excited to be on the podcast and hopefully provide as much value as I can.
Yeah, and he has a really inspiring story. I'm like talking to the camera, so for people listening to the podcast, you might be thinking I'm talking to him in third person. Like, Safir has a really cool story, doesn't he? Yeah. But he has an extremely motivating story, and we're going to dive into some of the details of a successful startup and exit you had in college and then getting a full-time job after. So I guess let's go back to that college time when you started to get entrepreneurial. Like, were you always that way, or did it really take off in college when you did startup stuff out there?
Yeah, so I think, I've actually thought and talked about this with other people a lot, is like
when it began.
Yeah, and like more so kind of like that entrepreneurial trait that a lot of people that we associate ourselves with tend to have. I think for me it started when I was younger, just because I was, like yourself, I was around entrepreneurship in terms of my family and
business owners.
Exactly. So just being raised in that, and I guess the way my parents raised me, it's been like kind of, as I've been growing up, it's something that has been, being harnessed within. But
right.
I think I realized it when I did go to college. For the listeners and the viewers, me and Chris went to the same college, and we didn't know each other in college, but
big school. But
yeah, right.
But we were both in the business school. I probably passed you like every day.
Probably, man. But I think I realized it when I went to college. When I initially got in, I don't know if you know this, but I was a biology major pre-med.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I think I may have remembered you saying that one time, like several months ago,
right?
When I first met you.
Even when I think about it now, I'm like, damn, was
like,
there
what?
Really bio pre-med? What the hell would I have done with
CEO of Hamper?
Yeah,
that's
right?
a little bit different.
And it's like, one, coming from the household and the tradition I came from, how it's like, hey, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer, and for the people that aren't watching and are listening, I'm Indian, and so
it was kind of like your fate to be one of those
kind
things.
of it's my parents were I guess good about it. They didn't really like force it on me, but it's just something that like was in like the society type of stuff, and
right.
So when I got into college, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do bio pre-med, and a year into it, got my butt kicked, and I was
probably weren't passionate about it at all.
Yeah, not at all, man. And it was, the idea of it seemed cool to me, and that's why I wanted to do it. But then when it got into the nitty gritty bio stuff, I was like, nope, this ain't for me. So, ended up switching over to business, and broke it to my parents at the time that like, hey, I'm switching out of bio and I'm going into business school. And my dad was kind of low-key excited, if that makes sense. He was like, good deal. He was like,
finally.
Yeah. He's like, my mom was kind of like, oh, you sure? Do what you think is right. Don't make a decision.
Kind of guilt tripping you a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, don't make a decision that's gonna affect you in later in life and things like that. But one thing that my dad told me that really stuck out to me at that time was, the thing with business is there's no cap to your potential. He said, if you work for somebody, or even if you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever, maybe a professional that gets paid a lot, he's like, there's always going to be a limit if you're working for somebody else. And so, when he told me that, I kind of, for whatever reason, stuck with me. And it's something that's obvious, that, hey, if I'm a business owner, I can make however much money, but at the same time, you can make as little as much money.
That's true. A lot of people look at all the potential. I've talked to several people where it's like, oh, I got a spreadsheet somewhere of how much I should have made millions by now, but it took a little longer.
Right.
Or it's still taking a little longer for some people, right?
Doing the entrepreneur math. If I sell this many widgets for this much, I can make this much. But so then, switched over to business. And for some reason, like, I was always good when it came to school, like academic-wise, but in college, I did have more interest in business, obviously, than bio. But at the same time, I feel like I wasn't learning what I needed to learn to be successful in business from, I guess...
From the books.
Yeah, from the institutional educational system. So me and a buddy of mine, junior year, me and my roommate, actually, we had this random thought in the middle of the night, like 12:30 a.m. or something like that. And we're like, man, we're pretty hungry. And like, in College Station, all you have is really Hungry Howie's and like, pizza, and you've got Chinese
pizza. Yeah.
And so we're like, man, it'd be cool if we could like order from somewhere, that didn't deliver, Lane's or Fuego's or something like that. And that's kind of when we had that little idea, and we're like, dude, let's do it. It can't be that hard, like, let's start a food delivery business. And so junior year, started a food delivery business, and at the time we both had part-time jobs just to get like some extra income for us to just have a little bit of money. Exactly. Yeah. And so we're like, dude, instead of working, let's just start a business. And that's what we did. We were the two drivers in the beginning. Awesome. We were like, dude, we're going to work anyways, might as well do something for ourselves. And I remember when we started the business, I was sitting in marketing class, and for whatever reason, I remember this super vividly, but I remember sitting in marketing class and the professor's talking about like TV ads and radio ads and newspapers and like things like that. And
was this like Dr. Gresham or something? Because there was a marketing teacher we had who was like 80 years old, and I remember he would just mumble through the whole lecture.
No.
And he had no idea that like what social media was.
Yeah. Honestly, this professor, I forgot what her name was, but she was like in her 40s. Like she wasn't that old, but
just the textbooks. I mean, the last pages of the textbooks, the most recent things are like TV ads usually, and they're not talking about YouTube ads and retargeting. And that's for sure.
That's what was crazy. And obviously I wasn't really paying attention in class. I was on my laptop.
Distracted, yeah.
And what was crazy is I was actually doing Facebook ads for the food delivery business.
Dang.
And while I'm sitting there doing Facebook ads, I just glance away from my laptop and I look up just to see that, just to make sure I'm not missing anything important. And I hear her talking about like TV ads and radio ads, and I'm like, are you for real right now? Like, why am I even sitting in this class? I can be doing this at home or like taking a course on it and learning what I need to learn. But that's when I really realized that, dude, I need to teach myself what I need to know in order to be successful in business. Like I said, for whatever reason, that really stuck out to me. And
I wish I made that realization sooner.
I
was just going through the motions. I tell some people this too in past interviews, that my parents wanted me to focus on school, so they always said, don't get a job, don't worry about it, focus on your classes. And so I was like, okay, cool. I went to this class, I did that homework. I got 8 hours left in the day. I'd go to the gym, I'd play video games, and that was it. I repeated that for 4 years. Because my only goal at the time was to get the degree. I had no ambition like that on the side. I guess I had suppressed any entrepreneurial ambition for a while. So I always get jealous when I meet people who are taking action way early, like Facebook ads back in junior year.
It's 2013.
Man, they're like the OG of Facebook ads. I was only looking into that probably the last 2 years or so, 2017. 2018.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the problem with like societal norms. It's like, hey, go to college, get a job, and make a decent living and
make X widgets per month with this company.
Yeah, right. And for the company.
Yes.
But that's why I always appreciate meeting people that are able to kind of break out of that and have a realization that they don't want to be average. It's like. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's the fact that like society like molds you to be average, right?
It kind of suppresses your childhood dreams, because we all have huge dreams. I mean, maybe you have a dream to be like a firefighter, a policeman, or an astronaut or whatever as a kid, and then as we get older, for some reason, we realize, or we start to think that that's not really realistic, and we start to focus on other things like, let me go get this degree and then get this job and then get a promotion, get a raise, and then 5 years later we're the same company and we have like a number 3 at the end of our title and like, 10 grand more a year.
Yep.
And one more extra week of vacation, big deal, right? That's always the biggest gripe that I have with the corporate lifestyle.
That's true, man. And that's what, I'm glad I never really got into it too deep.
You did for a little bit though, right? So,
yeah.
In terms of the startup, how long did you do that, and then how did it end up for you? I know we talked about this, but for the audience to know. Yeah,
so we started it in 2013. We grew it until we graduated. I graduated in 2014, but I continued kind of remotely managing the business.
So you came back to Houston after graduating?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I actually stayed a semester longer.
Just to work on it?
No, I purposely delayed my credits, and so I only had 2 classes that I was taking in the last semester I was there. So the fall semester of 2014.
Yeah.
So I graduated. I was supposed to graduate in May 2014. I graduated in December 2014, and I used it as an excuse. Not as an excuse,
because focus on the startup more.
Yeah, and so took 2 classes, 6 hours. Took it easy, and
gosh, that gives you a lot of time to focus on. On your main business.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we grew the most in those 5-6 months. But then December I graduated, came back to Houston, and this was kind of a big deal. Like when I graduated, my parents were like, "Okay, so what are you gonna do? How's the job hunt going?" And I knew in my mind, in the back of my head, that like
what job?
What job? Yeah, exactly.
I already got a job.
I'm like, dude, I don't need a job. I'm just gonna do this, and I'm going to start this food delivery business in Houston. Imagine if I can do decent in College Station. Imagine a city like Houston where I can do it in downtown and Galleria. And that was my plan. But there was this big thing with my mom. She's like, no, we didn't come to the U.S. and have you guys here to and raised you and
to not have this opportunity.
Exactly. And she's like, you guys have a degree, and you're not even gonna put that degree to work, and all of this stuff. And I was like, man,
you feel bad. I mean, you feel guilty about it, because I want to listen to my parents when they say that too. And in their defense, it's like, okay, they paid for the college, so I should probably listen to them.
Right.
But at the same time, it's so hard when you have that inner voice telling you to do something else, and then you got your parents who you've looked up to and listened to your whole life. So I'm sure that pulls out your decision-making skills, right?
It definitely did, and so that's primarily why I was like, okay, fine, I'll get a job, I'll appease my parents, and then we'll just see kind of where it goes from there. But I ended up getting a job out of the Galleria for a wealth management firm, and the biggest thing for me was like, all right, what kind of job can I get? If I am going to get a job, what can I do that's going to kind of help me in the future?
Right.
And the reason the wealth management firm stuck out to me is like, okay, so if I can learn how the millionaires manage their money, then I can utilize that skill set
to manage your own
manage my own money. And so that was the primary driver for me to get the job. And then obviously appease my parents as well.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did when I graduated. I was managing the food delivery business. Came back here to Houston and got a job working over there as well. But managing the business proved to be really hard because I wasn't there. We weren't there.
Yeah. Especially when you're having to focus on other stuff during the day, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and so we hired a manager, quote unquote, but he was a college student.
Yeah.
And so it's not like he's
100% dedicated to it.
Exactly. And so it was hard kind of remotely managing a very logistically heavy business and not being there. And so we were like, man, what are we gonna do? We can't just close it down. We're still making money at the end of the day from it, and it's some sort of income for us. And so we're like, I don't know what we're gonna do. And this is a few months into my job, and it's kind of getting busier for me too. And I'm past the training, and I'm actually now working.
Yeah.
And so right about at that time, April ish, we got an email from a company called Mr. Delivery, which is a kind of a national food delivery business. And they sent us an email saying, hey, we're wanting to come into College Station, but instead of competing with y'all, we want to buy your business out. And so we got the email and we were like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
We backtracked the email and made sure that it's a legit email and had to Google where it came from, like the name of the person who sent it and all of that. And ultimately we decided to sell it to them. It wasn't a ton of money, but given that we started the business for $8,000 or something like that, we sold it, for 4 or 5 times that. And so it was a good chunk of change for us to be like, okay, hey, look, we can sell it.
That works, Built it to sell it. That's
exactly, and so it was a cool moment, and at that time I was like, that's when it clicked to me. I was like, dude, screw this job thing. I went through the training. I learned the basics of wealth management, I guess you could say, and that's when I told my parents. I told them I'm quitting the job.
How long were you at the job for?
About 6 or 7 months. Yeah.
You're like 6 months in, nah, this ain't gonna work.
Wake and hub and putting a suit on every day, which
man.
I didn't mind the suit. And funny story, we can jump into this a little bit later, but I didn't mind it, but I was just like, dude, I've got enough money, I've got, I made this percentage of my yearly income anyways, so let me just take that and spend the rest of the year kind of figuring out what else I can do in terms of what business I can start and just rinse and repeat, right? But obviously that wasn't the case. Then so that was the first business. So that was kind of I wouldn't say that was the beginning of Hamper, but that's when I realized
an idea for it.
I realized the gap in the market at that time. And I didn't realize that I realized it at that time until a year later, right, when we actually started Hamper. But when we were going through training, it was myself and 5 or 6 other guys that had just started as well. 2 of them were actually Aggies as well. And so, one of the days we were at lunch, it just kind of came up in conversation that my family owns a dry cleaning business. And a couple of them, their eyes lit up, and I was like,
they're like,
why? What's up?
Can you dry clean our stuff, right?
And literally, that's what it was. They're like, dude, so we've been trying to find a place that we can take our stuff to, and there's not anybody that I could trust. They're like, I've only got 2 good suits that my dad bought me from Joseph A. Bank, when I was in high school, and I'm not gonna buy another suit, but I don't want it getting ruined.
Yeah.
So then they take it to MW Cleaners.
Right.
And MW. Yeah, and then they found one place that seemed to have some sort of brand that they trusted, which was MW Cleaners, and they took it there, and they charged them an arm and a leg, and they're like, dude, we can't afford this. It's like
not making it enough to be cleaning your suit there every week or whatever.
Exactly, and so that's when I had offered. I was like, hey, I don't mind taking this stuff, with me at the end of the day, and then I'll bring it back a couple of days later. And
that's awesome. Started getting those initial customers.
Yeah, without even knowing it, with no intention of any of it. And they would just PayPal me. I would give them a fat discount. I wasn't even trying to make money off of them.
Pay taxes, right? You did.
No sales tax. I didn't even have a sales tax permit, to be honest. I mean, obviously now I'm doing 4 people's dry cleaning. It's
this was before you even really thought about the idea. It was just an opportunity.
Yeah. Because after I quit the job, a buddy of mine had a CPG company. It was a bottled alkaline water.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
You guys did that for a while. You helped with that.
We did that, yeah. And then so around July-ish when I quit the job, he approached me and he was like, hey man, we started this about a year ago, and they weren't able to kind of get it off the ground. And so, he was like, do you mind helping us? And it would just be sweat equity, and we can give you some equity in the company. And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so I joined them and came in and helped them rebrand the product a bit, redid the labels and things like that. But we ended up getting into our first couple dozen stores here in Houston. And so then we started approaching Whole Foods and all of that. And once again, my entire thing, first of all, when he approached me about alkaline water, I was like, man,
you're not passionate about it?
I was well, the thing is how many people buy water? You know what I mean? And the people who do buy water, when do they buy something that's not
Regular bottled water?
Yeah, regular spring water or something like that.
Or even now, it's like people like, I have a filter at home and I just use that, replace the filter every 3 months or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, and that was my thing at first. I was like, but, you know.
It's more of a niche market in the water industry.
Yeah. And Alkaline water is like, it's owned by Essentia. They got their hands on the entire Alkaline freaking category.
I didn't even really know like what it was, or I would just see it's the fancy expensive water section. I'd just pass it.
$3 a bottle. And
I'm like, dang, it's next to all the what's the nice brands?
The you got the
Smart Water,
and Fiji and all those.
You know, I always thought that was overrated. I was like, man, why do people pay that? And then I tasted it and I was like, you know, it is smoother.
Yeah.
It's like drinking a cold vodka or something, but it's water.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, what was crazy is when I joined it, I realized the benefits of alkaline water. Yeah. And like at a cellular level, and it, you know, obviously if the body's in an acidic environment, you know, there's more inflammation, there's just more problems in the body. But you can't really sell that to the masses, you know what I mean?
You've got to educate the masses too, because I mean, like I said, I never knew what it was. I just pass it every single day at the store that I go. So that requires an extra step of educating the customer and really putting it in front of them. And
but you know, the way I looked at it is, I was like, yeah, you know, this may not go too far, but I was like, hey, you know, I'll be able to get the experience of talking to category buyers at Whole Foods or HEB or Central Market.
Going through the motions of talking to them, getting through the process.
And basically figuring out how do I get a consumer packaged goods product into the grocery store. And I was like, look, even if I don't make money off of this, you know, at least I'll be able to learn just in case I ever have an idea for a freaking granola bar or something. Like I do want to get it into stores. I know kind of the route.
And you might already have some people you've talked to before.
Yeah.
Relationships of some sort.
Exactly. So we did that for a little while, and was able to kind of get their e-commerce site up and running as a Shopify site, and then we got them on Amazon, and we started selling on Amazon, and then around that time I had the idea for Hamper, and that's when I was kind of doing both. And initially, it was kind of like shiny object syndrome. Like the entrepreneur was curious. I would see like I'd get a new idea. I'd be like, I think that could be viable. Let me see. You know, like if we can make it happen. Eventually, you know, I told my buddy, you know, I can stay on as like kind of an advisor / partner, but I can't devote the man hours. And so I stayed on and helped them out, and their e-commerce side kind of was where the main traction was at. So I kind of helped them out, but I kind of reshifted my focus to Hamper.
Okay. And are they still doing that now, or do they kind of wind
They still have the e-commerce site up and running, but my buddy's kind of like, you know, moved
just
on.
Passively.
It's up there. You know, he's got a few cases, and and then that's around 2016 we had the idea for Hamper. And that was also because I kind of got a little bit more involved in the family business, and started thinking of ways how I could help my dad grow the business, but realized that one, it's super saturated, especially in Houston.
Dry cleaning, every corner, it's kind of like a Starbucks or whatever. They're everywhere.
Except Starbucks owns all of them, and
every dry cleaner is like an individually
mom and
pop store.
Exactly, and so we're like, you know, we could open one in Upper Kirby or in the Galleria, but then there's already like freaking 8 in a 1 mile radius. And rent is like
super
$5,000, $6,000 for a small space. And so we're like, we can't take that risk, knowing that, you know,
there's already competition.
Exactly.
And established customers probably been going there for years.
And so that we were like, okay, let's think outside the box. Like, how can we kind of do it in a different way? And around the same time, I started getting more involved at the actual cleaners as well. And that's when I started like picking up on a common theme from people. And the theme was 5 to 7 p.m. We closed at 7 p.m. So 5 to 7 p.m. was the busiest time. And it was because everybody gets off at 5, and then they're scrambling to the cleaners just to make it there before it closes. Having to sit in rush hour traffic, you know, they got to get home for dinner and all of that, and they got to worry about dry cleaning. And a lot of people expressed that to us, or expressed it to me while I was, just kind of standing there asking them, how's everything been and this and that, and then they just start
venting.
Yeah, venting.
Gotta stop at the dang dry cleaners because I don't have any clean clothes. I got a meeting tomorrow or 2 days or whatever.
I was like, okay, we gotta make it a little bit easier for people to use it, and that's when we had the idea for Hamper. The initial idea for Hamper was the kiosks. The idea was, hey, let's remove the need for a brick and mortar storefront and instead have a standalone automated kiosk. And when we had the idea, it was like this super ambitious idea. Like, dude,
we're gonna have them in 2 months.
Yeah. Redbox for dry cleaning, and we're gonna have it automated and like all of that, and
drone delivery.
Yeah. And we're like, we had the idea, and then we talked to a few people, and people were like, that'll cost $100,000. Yeah, that'll cost $150,000.
Yep. I had my dreams crushed with a few ideas that I got quotes for.
Yeah.
$100,000. Okay, let me find another idea.
Yep. But I don't know why. At that time, we were like super confident about the idea. And that's because it made so much sense on both the consumer's end and on the business end.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, rent and payroll is 50% of our overhead. And so we're like, dude, if we're able to remove half of our overhead, then, we're automating it. We're not paying rent. And so we could scale the crap out of this thing, and that was kind of the basis of it. It's like we're undercutting all of the competition that's out there, the storefront competition, and instead bringing in automated cleaners that's located where you're at.
Right.
So we're bypassing the competition, plus we're able to do business without having to pay rent and payroll. But like I said, we were super ambitious about it, and so we built our team. Initially we had like 5 developers on our team, and it's just because my buddy who was helping us out on the tech side was he was a computer science major.
So he had a bunch of friends looking to join a startup.
Yeah, they were all in the same boat. They were about to graduate or had just graduated and
didn't have jobs.
They didn't have any experience to get a job.
Yeah.
And so I told them, hey, this is the idea we have. If you help us out, you'll be able to put it on your resume. I'll write you a letter of recommendation and
sweet.
All of this. And they're like, okay, yeah, cool, let's do it. So they helped us out while they continued applying for jobs. Out of those five developers, we still got 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
how long has that been?
So we built the team in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost been 3 years since those. You said 2 developers are still with you that started.
Yeah. One of them is our CTO, and the other one is our lead mobile developer. Yeah. We when we had the idea, we realized it was we have a bunch of software developers, but we don't have any mechanical engineers or electrical engineers, and we're trying to build a kiosk. We're like, okay, this is gonna be hard.
We kind of need some mechanical people, yeah.
Yep. And so, me personally, I was getting like super antsy, and I was just like, dude, let's just get started. Let's just build an app that we can start a pickup and delivery service for while we figured this stuff out in the background.
That's awesome. So I didn't realize that you had the kiosk idea first, but then you focus on the app to do that while you develop the kiosk.
Yeah. And that's why we named the company Hamper.
Yeah.
Because of the kiosks.
Yeah.
It's an automated hamper for your stuff.
Well, I mean, even Hamper still makes sense because the delivery, you are kind of like the hamper, or you're taking
the hamper.
The hamper.
Yeah. And we realized that after we had the idea, we named it the Hamper. We got the LLC made, Hamper Delivery LLC, and then we were like, okay, let's just get started as a pickup and delivery service. We'll do it for a little bit. We'll get feedback from customers. We'll get, our feet wet. Me and my brother were the only ones that had any experience in dry cleaning. And so all of these other guys on the team, they probably never even got dry cleaning done in their lives, except for like maybe a couple times when they needed it, if that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were like, okay, we'll at least get some exposure to the business and at least start figuring things out. That went on for almost a year and a half, 2 years almost, actually.
Wow. And
so we just kind of conducted business as a pickup and delivery service while we built out these kiosks. Same kind of story with the kiosks. I got a buddy of mine who is a mechanical engineering student, he's looking for a job, and I was like, dude, help us out. I'll put it
on your
resume. And,
give you a letter of rec.
yeah, exactly.
It's funny how that works out. You find people looking for opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew why people did unpaid internships or things like that, but it makes sense if you don't have the experience.
Yeah.
I was the guy who would just make stuff up and put on the resume.
Yeah, you're telling me.
You're like, hey, I'm going to put you down. Just say that I did this, right?
Right.
We worked on some freelance work together, quote unquote.
Fabricating the positions. And yeah, I feel you on that.
And then you try to go into detail on an interview, and you're just like, things were great.
Yeah. Right.
That's cool. So you found a mechanical friend who could help with the hamper or the kiosks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we found a buddy of mine, and he kind of helped us build the first prototype. And we had talked to a few engineering firms just to kind of get ideas from them.
Yeah.
And they were quoting us like 150 grand, 100,000. I think the lowest quote we got was 80 grand.
Jeez.
And we were like, dude, screw this. We bought some high density fiber wood from Home Depot, cut it into the dimensions. We rented a jigsaw and like cut it into the dimensions we needed each board to be, and bought these hinges, put it together, and we're like, dude, we really just need the prototype to
show people what it would look like.
Not even show people, just to test the software. Test the software and test the size.
Right.
And so we're like, it doesn't have to be fancy, so we built it in our garage and plugged in our software. We built it on a Raspberry Pi. We had a little touchscreen, a web camera that acted as the scanning camera.
Yeah.
In those days, it was like $250, $300 for an actual scanner.
Oh yeah.
No, for the scanner. Yeah. And so we're like, all right, well, let's just use a camera. It's $30 for a webcam. And so, that's how we built it. And it wasn't until towards the end of last year that we actually got real kiosks made and introduced into buildings.
Yeah, and how many buildings are you guys in now in Houston? You got, seems like every other day you're getting a new building launched.
No, man, I wish, but yesterday we just launched our 11th building.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, the other day I was just running around dropping a check off to a title company, and I had seen pictures of the hamper and stuff, and I think I texted you immediately, or I tagged you on Instagram, like, whoa, I actually see one here in person randomly for this place that I didn't expect to go to, right? So it was cool.
Yeah, no, that...
And ironically, you're moving into another building, like...
Yeah.
You already did, probably.
If we count all the buildings we have launched in, man, we've been in like almost 20 buildings.
Okay, but the ones that you've stayed in, or I guess currently you're in, is about 10. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the big thing in the beginning. It's like we were just going after anything we could get.
Yeah.
Right? We're like, all right, we just want to get.
That's how it always is at the beginning. You're just like, okay,
we'll take what we can get.
But yeah, you'll take what you can get, and then you can get a little pickier. After I close a few more deals here too, I'm gonna be a little picky. Like, oh, no, you're not $1 million buyer. All right. Let me refer you to my peasant friend.
Move up to Martha Sotheby's? The
Sotheby's. Man, even their business card looks like it costs 10 G's. Good stuff, though. So that's awesome. From the idea that you initially have to kind of getting around it by doing pickup and delivery, and then finally getting the hampers and the kiosks into 10 places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
continuing to scale.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, like, Steve Jobs has this quote where he's like, you can't connect the dots moving forward. You can only connect them looking backwards.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I always think of when I either talk about it or I think about, like, kind of the journey we've been on. It's like, none of this was planned, man. It was just like, dude, we're falling off a cliff and we need to figure out how to build a plane. Literally, that's what it was. And I'm so glad that the path that we've been on, presented itself in the way it did, because we realized, like, thank God we have this pickup and delivery service, because that's
an established revenue stream.
Yeah, and it's giving us the cash flow and the freedom to get experimental with the kiosks, and that's it's played out really well the way it has. But now, we've got both service lines running in parallel. Ultimately, we know outside of Houston, it's the kiosks that's going to be more scalable.
Yeah.
Logistics are tough, and so although we're implementing software to make the logistics a little bit more seamless, it's, if we can eliminate and just have kiosks act as storefronts, it makes things a lot easier for us and the customer.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's this past, almost a year has been exciting, and it's been crazy. But it's been a learning experience, like from the day we launched to yesterday. Like literally, even yesterday,
constantly.
Yeah, we're we had our newest team member. I was training him on like our launch, kind of like how to pitch and how to market customers, and it's like, damn, I don't have a script I can give you, man. But hey, let's do this.
Let's make a script. Right?
Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this as an opportunity to actually make a script, so the next person has one.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, man, for sure. Like, I'll write it down because like I need to write it down in order to remember it. I'm like, perfect. It works out for both of us. I was like, let me do the pitch a couple times to customers. Just put your phone on the side and hit record.
Yeah.
And you can just record it and take notes and make a script out of it. And so, yeah, and it's something that I think the reason we've been able to make it 3 years is due to us always trying to adapt and improve. Like, we're literally trying to iterate and improve every small detail of like,
from the text message and the automation.
Yeah.
And for those listening, I actually finally, I've been friends with him for a while now, and I'm like, I'm going to use you guys one day, don't worry. And now that I'm actually doing, nice open houses and stuff, and I've got to actually dress up a little nicer, I got dry cleaning, so I made the first order last week. And it was awesome to get the text and then saying, hey, Nigel, your driver's going to be on the way. He's 10 minutes away.
Shout out Nigel.
Yeah, we talked for a while. He had some questions on making a podcast, so I'm going to hold him accountable. I'm going to ask, hey, how's that podcast going? You got episode 1 done?
He's bought a mic, man. So
there we go.
Yeah.
That's step 1. He was actually really interested. We talked for like 10 or 15 minutes when he came by my house, but really cool. And I even got personal delivery. You brought my dry cleaning here today, so thank you.
Right.
Because I'm going out of town tomorrow. I needed some clothes for the trip.
I got you, man.
But that's really exciting. So I'm sure the kiosks have served as another way to acquire customers, because if there's a kiosk in someone's office building, they're like, this makes sense. Why would I go drive to a dry cleaner when I can just drop it off here and create an account?
Yeah.
And plus that eliminates any like delivery trip charges and stuff too, where they just drop it off, right?
Yeah. And that's what we realized. It's like with our home pickup and delivery service, for us to fulfill 10 orders, it's going to 10 different places, as opposed to us being able to go to one office building and
it's like
take care of 10.
The spoken hub model, right? You're creating these hubs.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen that, and we're like, man, like this is the direction we need to head into. Yeah. But at the same time, we can't cut off dry cleaning and the pickup and delivery side.
Because people love that. You have your set customers. And for the people, like, I don't have a kiosk in a building that I work from, because I work from coffee shops a lot of times, or from home. So I would be using that pickup service. But yeah, we're at a WeWork right now on Main Street, so if we were to have a Hamper here and I ended up getting an office here, that would be awesome. I would just bring my dry cleaning with me to drop off while I went to work.
Yeah.
To save steps.
We're launching one on the 31st, by the way.
Here?
In this building, yeah.
Dang! There we go. Okay. That's awesome. I mean, I knew it's only a matter of time before you get into more and more buildings.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for everybody who's here to just bring their dry cleaning here. If they're coming here already, it saves them that trip, which is huge. And I talk about that on saving time and being more efficient with everything. I even order groceries to be delivered. I don't want to go to the store.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's very few things I actually want to go do. It's like, can I just get a massage therapist like delivered to my house? Because I got to drive to the massage place.
Dude, I think our generation kind of understands that more so than like the previous generation. It's like,
we have everything at our fingertips now too.
Yeah, and
get any food delivered. Get a movie on Netflix or Amazon Prime right away.
Yeah, like I think about it all the time. Whether it's me taking a toll, like something as small as that, to like me outsourcing some part of my business to a VA that Chris was kind enough to
I got my
hook
VA.
Me up with.
That's good.
Yeah,
giving him some solid business, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I feel bad I haven't had enough to give him, but I know he's busy with you.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to keep him busy, but yeah, that's one thing that I've realized. It's like, like if I save this much time, that gets transferred over to me able to quote unquote hustle and get us more business, or grow the business, or whatever it may be. And I think across the board, our generation is noticing that more so.
Yeah.
At least I hope so, because it's good for business. But yeah, no, I think compared to like our parents who want to do everything themselves, we're more open to getting a lawn guy who'd mow the lawn, or getting a car wash membership so we don't have to wash our own cars, things like that. And companies are realizing it. You've got Volkswagen that's coming out with a subscription model. I don't know if you've heard.
Really? For what?
For cars.
For service, or
for cars. Yeah, no. So instead of buying or leasing a car,
wow, you can subscribe to cars.
You can subscribe to a vehicle just like you would do the iPhone upgrade program.
That's cool. So it's like a lease type thing, subscription.
Kind of.
Just switch trade models or whatever.
Yeah. So like every 2 years you can upgrade. Like you pay cool. $500 a month and drive a vehicle, and I'm sure they'll probably figure out some sort of limits in terms of miles and things like that. But every couple of years you can upgrade to the new model. And you've got Lyft, who's also coming out with the subscription model, to where instead of you paying for a vehicle or for whatever it may be, you can just get a subscription,
and you'll have a certain amount of credits or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know more and more people talk about trying to push towards a subscription-based model whenever possible.
Mm-hmm.
Even the place where we get our haircut at, and I also got you on there.
Yeah.
You got a fresh haircut, like unlimited haircuts. Shout out to the boardroom. I don't know how many locations they have across the nation, but basically you can pay annually for a haircut membership, and then you get unlimited haircuts versus having to pay every single time you go. And that's why every time you see one of us, we got a fresh haircut, like going once a week sometimes, or right before an event.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot more sense, because now you can go at your convenience. It's kind of like a gym membership too, right?
Yeah.
They know that people are going to sign up, and not everyone's going to use it that much. Like some people go to the gym twice a month,
yeah.
And then some people are like, all right, I'm using the sauna, the pool, I'm going every single day, 2 hours a day.
For the first 2 weeks.
Getting that money's worth.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so subscription-based model is definitely where it's going. But I think it's really awesome what you guys did with the kiosks, because it's a really, I don't know if I would say, cheap way of a customer acquisition. Maybe it makes sense. Maybe it is cheap per customer in a building.
I would use effective.
Effective,
yeah.
Yes.
Cost effective and
effective in general. Because if you get it in there and people adopt that, even if they change jobs, you kind of already pulled them in. They like what you do.
Yeah.
They're going to use you through the app to get delivery and pickup.
Yeah, and that's what we realized when, like, in the beginning we were doing like 6-story office buildings, class B, maybe borderline class C, and that's because we were taking whatever we could get.
Those are really the prime customers who do dry cleaning.
Yeah, and our first building was in the Galleria. It was the Alert Logic building. Okay. And Alert Logic is like a cloud security software company,
right?
Where majority of their employees are developers, and so they're coming wearing jeans and t-shirts, and
they're like, I got no laundry or dry cleaning to do.
Dude, that's the funny thing. We didn't even offer wash and fold laundry back then.
Yeah.
And
which
so
you do now. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we put our first kiosk in there, and we got a handful of customers the first week, and we're like, is this what it's gonna look like? Like I was like, I don't know about this, but we realized it's because we placed it in the wrong environment, the wrong setting.
Yeah, because you need the right offer, the right target market, the right customer, I guess.
Yeah.
So sometimes it may look like you're onto the wrong idea, but really it's just the wrong marketplace.
Yeah, or the wrong approach.
Right.
Yeah. And that, what you're saying, it's like, once we move, like we still go to the Alert Logic building to pick up stuff.
Right.
And that's because once we get a customer from a hamper, we can remove the hamper, but we have the ability to convert them to pick up and delivery. We tell them we'll waive your delivery fee and continue to service you, so we don't really lose.
So you still
customer.
use the location to pick up from almost, right? Because the customers will be dropping off from there.
Yeah. And then at that point it'll just be more door to door. So we'll go to the building, go up to their office, grab it from their office, or they'll meet us in the lobby.
Other people will probably see that and be like, "Oh, what is this?" And you'll get more customers.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
It's been a cool customer acquisition strategy. One thing we always worried about is, man, how much are these buildings going to charge us in rent? But luckily, when we started selling them to the building, we figured out as part of our sales process, well, we figured out how to pitch it as an amenity.
So now you just angle it as an amenity that's offered for the building.
Yeah, and that's how we're able to kind of get it in for free. They don't charge us, we don't charge them, no rent.
And it's funny because it's a positioning strategy. If you came in like that, like, hey, it's kind of like a storefront for your place, they'd be like, all right, in their mind, they're thinking that we should charge you monthly.
Because you're making money off of it.
But now that you angle it as an amenity, like, this is something you can offer to your customers, which are basically the businesses and the employees are out there.
Yeah.
And now they're like, you're right, this is great. Let's get it in there, no charge.
Yeah.
And just give us a cut of what I don't know what the agreements look like. They might be different per building. But.
Yeah. No, I mean, a couple of them, and these are kind of like our early ones, we set up a profit share, but not really a profit share. It's like, hey, we'll donate 5% of our profits to y'all's charity.
That's cool.
So
they have some kind of incentive, and they know that you're going to be contributing something.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's going in there telling them, hey, like, none of the buildings around you right now have this amenity for their tenants, and really leveraging tenant acquisition and tenant retention.
Yeah.
Now
that's smart, because now you're pitching it to them as like they'll get better tenants who want this amenity.
Yeah, because
that's convenient.
If they've got 30% vacancy in their building, they're doing sales themselves, right?
Yeah.
Somebody is interested.
This is an extra way to differentiate themselves.
Yeah. It's just same way how apartments have these amenities and those amenities, and this is our fitness center. We do yoga and all of this. Like,
that's awesome.
So yeah, we figured that out, and it was honestly just through knocking on a bunch of doors and getting these meetings and kind of just always iterating.
Yeah.
And so that's what's been really cool, man. It's like seeing how like we've done all these micro improvements or micro tweaks in the grand scheme of things. It's like, dude, now I think we could maybe even charge the building, we're like exploring that option, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool.
That's exciting, man. I love seeing the progress, and I mean, you've been in some like pitch competitions and stuff, right? Like sharing the idea, winning some awards. I think you won like 10 grand from the Rockets or something, right?
Yeah.
Recently. So that was really neat. What do you see for you guys in the next 5 or 10 years? Scaling, of course, scaling across the nation, possibly entertaining acquisition. Hint, hint. Anyone listening, if you guys know,
right,
dry cleaning company or tech company looking to acquire that, because the hampers, the kiosks, along with the software, that's what's really scalable, and you can change the logo, license it out to other areas or cleaners, right? Eventually,
that or be the Starbucks of dry cleaning, except we don't make the coffee, somebody else does. You just sell the logo and the cups and the product, of course. And that's what's been interesting is like now we're planning, or we're thinking of how we're going to be going into new markets and what we need to have in place now, or what we need to start building now in order to do that. With us up until now, we've had our family's dry cleaning business to leverage. But if we go into Dallas or Austin or LA or New York or Miami, we're not going to have we don't want to have a storefront. We don't want to be in the dry cleaning business.
You kind of want to be, kind of like how Uber doesn't own cars and Airbnb doesn't own houses. And you want to leverage other people's dry cleaning businesses.
Because the infrastructure is there. It's a $16 billion market or industry in the U.S., and you've got 80% of the industry is mom and pop shops.
Yeah. So. And that just drives, the more competition drives pricing down, drives margins down. So this is a way for you to differentiate yourself and leverage their infrastructure to get the job done. And just take little cuts and percentages here and there of the profit margin. So ultimately we do want to be, in terms of our business model, be similar to Chick-fil-A or Starbucks, to where they're interacting with Hamper, they're, from A to Z, the customer experience is with Hamper, and try to control as much as we can without having to do it ourselves, which is going to be the tricky part, but that's also the exciting part. It's like figuring out how can we build software or technology for the facility that we partner with in Dallas to ensure that their quality of cleaning is good. Like how can we ensure that inspections are being done? We don't want to put that responsibility in a person who, if one day they don't feel like doing anything, they're not going to inspect the garments, and now a customer gets a shirt back with a broken button.
and how can we use technology to do that instead?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the exciting part. It's starting to build the technology that'll eventually lead to that.
Man, so clearly you guys are doing a lot and you're building pretty quickly. I'd say within the last few years you've come a very long way. I know you're very involved, and most entrepreneurs I meet, they end up falling in this category of being into self-development, mindset, reading, going to conferences. We actually went to the Arate event together in April, I think it was, this year in St. Louis. So how big of a part would you say mindset and self-development has played in your company's success and growth?
Man, I think for me, at least speaking from personal experience, it's probably the differentiator in somebody that would have started at that first building and been like, yeah, this idea probably wasn't as good as we thought, let's quit.
And just quit.
Yeah. A little bit of it, it's like nurture and nature, and like the way I'm built, it's just like, no, we're gonna push through and we're gonna get it where we're trying to get it to. But a lot of it does come down to having the mindset to want to continue to grow, want to continue to learn, and figure out which direction we need to head in order to make this thing what we want it to be.
Right.
But yeah, no, the mindset and like just kind of your day-to-day personal habits, I think, are one of the biggest components to being able to endure all of this.
Yeah.
Right? Like it seems like now when I look at it, it's like, all right, cool, yeah, like we're doing well and
You're seeing the traction.
yeah, but man, I'll tell you one thing, dude, it was not like this, man. Like me and Nigel were talking about it the other day. It's like, dude, you remember when there'd be days where like, hey, do we have any orders today? Nah, man, I don't think. But if anything comes in, I'm
ready to go.
Yeah. And now it's like, dude, is today a light day? Like, how's the schedule for today? Oh, today's kind of light, but yeah, no, I mean, it's in the early days, it was having that mindset, having that positive outlook, and not only having that within myself, but keeping the team motivated.
Yeah.
And like, hey, don't look away from the finish line. Like, don't look to the right, don't look to the left, don't look at like, oh yeah, the box isn't producing, like we only got a handful of orders. No, don't look at that. Look at where we're headed and figure out how we can get that production to where it needs to be. And that's what we did. And it's crazy because like, not only do you have to have that mindset at all times, but you have to emit that.
Yeah.
And
because you've got to be able to motivate your team and the people you're trying to get to do things.
We're doing it for free.
And if you're not feeling that motivation, it can be very hard to get your team excited to show up that day.
Yeah. And so, it's I think the motivation and the self-motivation and the personal development, me and you are always listening to podcasts. We're always listening to audiobooks and got crazy.
Looking for conferences to go to. Are you going to one? Is it this week or?
So Arte's this weekend.
Are you going?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so you're going again. There we go.
I'm excited, man. It was really cool the first time.
Yeah, I'll be out of town. Otherwise, he invited me. I'd love to go again. It was awesome just connecting, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
They're all going to be like, "Where's Chris? Where'd he go?"
Yeah, right.
I'll FaceTime in and say hello or something.
Dude, that's not a bad idea.
I miss those guys. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely was, man. And that being an Arte has really kind of like been one of the key factors this year for me, like
because you're connected to so many other people that are at all levels, and getting that mentorship, the calls that you get on and everything. With Andy and Ed.
That's been like super crucial, man. It's like being able to learn from them and implement
in real time.
And implement those things in our business, and it's been awesome. But like, I initially in the early days, it was like information overload.
Yeah.
Now I've learned to kind of curate the information I'm taking in to where it can benefit me now.
Right.
And I think
just in time learning is something I learned.
Yeah.
Instead of just reading all random books, find a problem you're struggling with and find a topic on that. So when you're learning, it's relevant to what you're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, because in the beginning, it's like you're reading a bunch of like inspirational books that like get you pumped up. But now I'll pick it up every now and then, but it's like I can't use any of that. You know, like
Right.
I need to figure out how I can scale.
So now you don't really read as many books on mindset. You read more stuff to actually help you scale.
Yeah. Like, you know, if we're thinking about raising our first round, and so I reread Venture Deals, and it's a super dry read, but you know, I was like, this will probably help me more so than reading a book on, I don't know, how to start.
On motivation.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no, and I think that's been a big thing, because initially it's like you're listening to Gary Vee, you're listening to Grant Cardone, you're listening to Tony Robbins, and you're
those are all great, but
yeah.
There's so many hours of content. It's easy to get sucked into like, oh, it's been 5 days of me watching YouTube videos, and I didn't do anything.
And they're all on like different spectrums, man. Like you've got Gary Vee and
Gary
Grant
Vee
Cardone.
is like total. Yeah, those are like extremes of like, do this, do like a million side hustles, get money however you can. And then you've got Gary Keller, the one thing, like get rid of all the side hustles.
Yep. Yeah.
There's gold nuggets in everything, but again, with the conflicting messages and conflicting advice, it's important to take those nuggets away and implement 1 or 2 things you can do every single day. See what works, keep it, tweak it, see what doesn't work for you, and throw it aside, I guess.
Constant iteration, man.
Constantly.
All these what did I call it earlier?
Tweaks?
Small tweaks, minor tweaks.
Fine-tuning.
Yeah, just fine-tuning, man. Every day, try to get 1% better, and you'll look back over 3 years, and it's like, damn, I've gotten 1,000% better. But, that's what it comes down to.
So, Safir, where can our audience go to follow you, to learn more about Hamper, and just to see how the progress is going?
Yeah, best way, Instagram, Safir_Ali.
Okay.
Try to put a lot of content out. I got guys like Chris that
motivated you to put out more. Yeah.
And so I'm always like, man, this guy's on another level, and I'm not putting out enough content.
But then he's out here putting kiosks away, and I'm just making a podcast all day.
Right. But yeah, no, that's probably the best place.
Awesome.
I try to document as much as I can, and try to share, whether it's stories or posts. Just things that are working for me, things that are working for the business, and hopefully I can do a little bit more of that, and put more value out to where I can share what I've learned, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and
Awesome, man.
Sweet.
Well, that was my alarm. I gotta run to another meetup that I'm going to be talking at. So that's always be lead generating, right? Wait, what is always be closing? ABC.
Yeah.
But in this meeting, I guess my whole goal is to be getting more clients, more leads for my real estate stuff, and it's a targeted audience. So kind of like how you're getting your pitches in front of your the new buildings and acquiring new customers. I'm about to go try to do some of that myself with some real estate stuff. But
that's awesome.
Everybody go give him a follow. I'll put up his Instagram handle in the show notes. Be sure to share this episode, and if you really enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, as well as some feedback to let us know what you like and what you want to hear more of. But with that being said, that's all we have for today. So thanks again, Safir, for coming through.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And for bringing my laundry. It's over here. It'll be looking nice and fresh for my trip this weekend.
Right. Take the bag with you, man.
Yeah, I got to keep the bag too. So go check it out. And once Hamper scales across the nation too, keep them in mind. You're going to know you heard them here first.
Right. That's awesome.
But yeah, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on next week's episode. Peace.